It's not about making an icon for the sake of it. It's not about making a building. It's about making a series of spaces and activating an island. It's about startup musicians. It's about everyday music. It's about the imaginative side that we all have. We're making 6,000 square meters of new musical space, something intrinsically linked to the cultural identity of Seoul. This is making a topography, making a landscape that people can explore and enjoy, but driven by a passion for sound and music. A piece of poetry, if you like, that's linked to Seoul, that's driven by function and making something that is extraordinary and doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. This is Soundscape. The brief was really interesting. How could we make a truly special, meaningful place for the citizens of Seoul and of Korea and all the visitors from all over the world? So we began by thinking, how could we enhance the investment that's already been made in the island and make strategic moves that would add value? But there seemed to be some kind of sadness to the island underneath, that there it was in such a beautiful location with facilities on it that somehow haven't had that extra spark to capture people's imagination. So we were thinking really how we can amplify and enhance the life that's there, not change everything, but make new linkages from both sides of the island, across, threading through the existing road bridges, one underneath and one between the two roadways, to connect and make pedestrians and cyclists be able to flow and get to this amazing island most easily.
Through our research, we had found a gap within the cultural landscape in Seoul. And that was a need to build a substantial place that can really bring people together, and in particular, for the celebration of music. There is a rich heritage in both traditional and contemporary music within South Korea, and we wondered whether the existing facilities could be significantly enhanced by adding things like recording studios, which are often lacking within large metropolitan centres, spaces for performance, silent anechoic areas for simply losing yourself, found spaces for practice and performance, artistic spaces dotted amongst the landscape. And so to really create large, framed gathering environments, but also smaller moments to explore within the landscape.
We want to be sure that whatever we do comes from the island and the city itself. We've looked to create a silhouette that not only echoes the mountainous terrain that Seoul people love to walk and explore around, but it also responds to the patterns of sound and music. So we've lifted up a landscape. So you walk up it and it rises and rises to create a dancing form that contains a connected route with rampways and steps and lawns and shrubs and a series of gardens. So this isn't just one large sculptural gesture, but a collection of beautiful and explorable places available for everyone. And the underside will have special reflective quality, so it not only protects you from the rain when you're underneath, and also can reflect the sound of the city back to you and you out to your audience, but it also will be visually dynamic at all times as it reflects the activities of the island below as you look up into it.
We chose to break down the scheme into a series of floating islands connected by thin linked walkways. It was important that the new scheme didn't feel overbearing or overpowering on top of the existing island, but something that weaved in and out of its natural topography. We then took these 7 islands, which represented the 7 major mountain ranges within Seoul, and placed them so that between the walkways you really feel like you're going between different thresholds, different moments. We then looked to create these islands in plan from a series of overlapping squares that not only relate to the patterns and grid of the existing buildings and structures below, but also create an intriguing edge that allow for a number of balcony moments and vantage points around the entire perimeter of the island.
The root of the soundscape forms a large figure of 8. This is a loop, and it stitches the main transportation drop-offs. So this bridges the 2 sides of the island and makes a dramatic entrance gateway. So there is a framed active hub in the west and a treetop walk in the east. The project includes 7 musical spaces for everyday use. There's a karaoke space up in the air, a musical cafe with amazing views out over the city, an immersive acoustic exhibition space, a classical music recital with space with instrumental learning, a K-pop experience center, a series of sound artist studios, and finally there's even an anechoic silence chamber. So on the ground, we're looking to build a variety of different functions. There'll be a waterfront amphitheatre. There'll be a restaurant with evening views. We plan to make the edge of the island more naturalistic. We will put water taxi stations and have a beach, but then in the winter transforms to an ice rink. We're also looking at the existing facilities and opening them up more and creating a couple of new courtyards to create more explorable spaces, both above and below. To access the island, we're proposing to make 2 new pedestrian and cyclist linkages, but they're not separate bridges. They're attached to the existing infrastructure, but they're separate from the 8-lane highway. On the north, the new link bridge will be attached underneath the highway. Underneath the structure, there is a perfect space that could make a wonderful covered bridge close to the water. On the south, we can make a new bridge that's sandwiched in the air between the existing bridge's arches. The finished project should be an intriguing urban hike where you can walk up and round and across in a figure of 8 through lush gardens. And at the same time, we make a canopy that reflects all different types of activities all year round. The project is really about creating something that captures the life and energy that the island so desperately needs. Thank you so much for the opportunity to think about this phenomenal site. The project is at an extremely early stage. You've seen drawings and renders as if it's far more thought through. What it really needs now is the collaboration and participation of the people of Seoul, of geographers, of hikers, of musicians, of residents, of the people who will come and use this every day, every week, every month. It's been wonderful spending time exploring the island, understanding the city. The project is about celebrating everybody, not making a big art centre or a single big icon or big fat building. We want something that has soul and depth and sends strong messages to everybody that society coming together is what really matters. And together, after COVID, we can create new futures that can change the planet and be about our shared humanity.